Welcome to A Table in the Wilderness. Pull up a chair. There is a place for you at the table. Like, subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know where you are listening from. We really do want to hear from you. We really want to know what your thoughts are about our podcast.
All right, welcome to another episode of A Table in the Wilderness. I'm Adriene Johnson, and today I have some very special guests. This is a ladies' takeover.
Woo!
Yes.
They love it already.
Yes. So we're so excited. I have some of my very special friends here at the table, and I've got Sister Brenda Bailey here. And then we have our newest guest, Sister April Trail.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Yay! And we've got a really great topic. One of the things that I had been swirling around in my brain after Brother Thomas had told me that it was our time to record. It was time for us to.
It's about time they let us take over.
Here. Yes. So I actually had been talking with a family member, and we had been talking about how her daughter was teaching her some of the things that she was learning in school. And so it was very much a see one, do one, teach one concept. And so, she was just talking about all the new things that she was learning and she was sharing. And so I got to thinking about this concept, and I did a little deep dive and learning about the history and everything. And I thought, this would be a really great conversation with ladies who not only are people that I have looked up to and tried to emulate different parts of my life, but also they are teachers at heart. And so not just in the church, we've got Sister April. She is a teacher in the school system here, the local school system. And so I just thought that would be a really great conversation to have. So we are going to dive into this topic, and I'm excited about what I'm going to learn.
Yes.
We are ever growing and ever learning. And if you get an opportunity to teach, you will find that you will learn something new all the time. So I'm excited about talking about this with you all today. So we're just going to jump right in. When I'm thinking about the see one, do one, teach one, when I had looked it up, there is a surgeon, Dr. Halstead, and so he had pioneered this concept at Johns Hopkins and the hospital there. And so up until the point that this came into play, there was not really a formal surgical residency system in the U.S. And so doctors pretty much learned through apprenticeships. They learned by reading. And so Dr. Halstead had introduced this structured apprentice styled residency. And so the progression of training actually was catapulted because, you're watching, then you are doing, and then you're taking what you've learned, and then you're showing someone else. And the beauty of this concept is it overflows into biblical discipleship.
Right.
When I was thinking about this,
does.
it looks just like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so this mirrors so much of what we've seen in the scripture. We're seeing this rhythm of observing and learning, walking it out personally, and then we pour it into others. And Jesus modeled this with the disciples. Paul, he did the same thing with Timothy. Mm-hmm. The Bible talks about how older women are instructed to teach younger women. Yes. Parents are told to teach their children diligently. So this concept is just everywhere in Scripture. If you read through Psalms, David is constantly saying, Lord, teach me.
Yes.
And that's not something that we outgrow. That's not
No.
something, like I said, we're ever learning, ever growing. So again, I wanted to sit down with these women that I deeply respect, women who teach, they disciple, they parent, they serve, and they're still learning themselves. And so this is just a real conversation around discipleship and teaching, influence, and spiritual growth. So I'm going to jump in with our first question here. I want you to think back when you were first growing in your walk with the Lord, or maybe stepping into a new season of motherhood or whatever that looked like. Who were the people that you found yourself watching? What was it about their life or their walk, how they carried themselves? What drew you to them? And then how did that shape your understanding of following God? Sister April, would you start us off?
Sure, no problem. Thank you for letting me be here today. I
We're
was
so
excited
glad to have you with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. These are my best friends here at the table. So, I think starting out from the very beginning, my mom and dad always took me to church. Now, we never went to an apostolic church growing up, but they taught me the principle of faithfulness, which the Bible says a servant must first be found faithful.
Right.
And so growing up, it was never a question of whether or not we were going to go to church. We just were.
Yeah.
And so I never questioned that. I was just going to go.
Right.
And then when I was a teenager, I remember laying in bed one night and I was just thinking, Lord, there's got to be more. I don't even know what made me think that as, just a young kid. I didn't really know anything. But that's what I thought about, is there's got to be more. And then I eventually found my way here to the church. The Lord led me here. And this is where I raised my family. And so the people here are the people that had all the influence on me, starting with Brother Clark and Sister Judy.
Yes.
And I was just thinking about this the other day. But anytime a kid would come up and get prayed for, and anybody that's been around knows, Pastor Clark would always have, it's hard to tell how many $5
bills. Yeah.
And, it just impressed on me, he had those $5 bills. He made sure
He was prepared.
he was prepared. He had those $5 bills ready for any kid that would come up. And, if they were going on a trip, he would make sure
Maybe
that they had a
extra.
little something extra. And so that was something I think that was so built into him that it just became like second nature, that he would.
That spirit of giving.
Yes.
Yeah, generous spirit.
And, there's been many people here at the church, many of our elders and their wives, of course, my friends here that I have at the table, they have been such godly examples of what I still aspire to be, because I'm not there yet.
None of us are, right?
But just the amount of love that they have for people in general and for the people of the church, and the way that I don't know how to explain it. It's a kind of love that I don't think I ever experienced in another church before coming here. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Lord impressed upon me that it only took me like one or two times. This is where you need to be.
And that was exemplified to us through Brother and Sister Clark as well. They led us.
Yes.
And we followed them. So yeah,
They made it easy to follow.
They did. And it was the foundation of the culture here at this church. And I think that's the biggest thing. If we have a culture here, and every church does, and we just, when you stop and think about it, but I think this is a culture of love and giving.
It really is.
And that was started with Brother and Sister Clark.
And Sister Linda, she was always so good to everybody that came in. She really exemplified what the love of God looked like. She wanted the people that came in, especially new people, to feel that love.
Yes.
And so that's carried over, and I'm very thankful to be a part of this church. I really am.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sister Brenda, would you like to share who most influenced you, or who you observed in this C1 concept of discipleship?
Well, I have to say, I was blessed to be birthed and grew up in the apostolic faith. My parents were in ministry from before the time I was born, so this is the life it's all I've ever known. And so growing up, and you go through different seasons of life, and so I can look back and see in the different seasons that I was in, there have been different ones that I have looked up to. And I have to say, probably the biggest one is my mom. And, I know we all look to our moms.
Yes.
And moms have a huge influence in our lives. And I think we have to be mindful of that as well. And this follows along with this: see one, do one, be one, teach one, because what we have learned, we do pass on.
Right.
And so my mom was such a big influence for me. She, again, both my parents in the ministry from before I was born. So there was always giving to the church, but there was always a love too. So, did she always get it right? No. And we won't either.
Right.
But she was doing what she knew to do, and she was teaching as she went along. And she has a love for everyone.
Yes, she does.
And she loves everybody. And no matter where my parents go, anywhere in the world, and they have been many different places in the world, especially in this later season in life, everybody calls them mom and dad.
Yeah.
And so I have, adopted siblings all the way around the world, and they know me very, very well. I have never met them, but because my parents talk about their family here, we have extended family.
Right.
So that's one, and she's still teaching and passing on information. So I'm thankful for that. But also my Granny Spear, my dad's mom, she was such a godly woman, and I miss her still. She passed away in 1990, but she was such a good, godly woman of faith. She actually wrote for the UPC adult Bible class in the 60s. So if you ever find one of those books, Eloise Spear, her name is attached to some of those lessons, and she was such a great writer. She was kind of a quiet woman. She may not have been when she was raising her kids, but for us as grandchildren, you change a little bit when the grandkids come along.
That's what I hear.
It's an amazing season, let me tell you.
I'm getting ready to experience that. I can't wait.
Yes.
So, but she was quiet, but she was teaching. And I can look back, and then it was just being able to spend time with her.
Yes.
And the things that she was teaching, just practical things as well as biblical things. So I can remember one time I was helping her vacuum the floor, and she said, "Brenda, you're going too fast. There's no way that vacuum cleaner is going to pick up the dirt with as fast as you're going. You've got to slow down." So, practical things like that. But those are the kind of things we pass on too.
Right.
And so she was so many things, and I could talk about her for a long time. But also my mother-in-law. And I have to say, I picked my mother-in-law before I picked my husband. So before Brother Dwayne and I even started talking anything, he did flirt before that. But anyway, that's another side story. So, but yes, I picked my mother-in-law, and she, again, as Sister April said, she did have a love for everybody. And she was a woman who studied, and you knew by the way she talked, by the way she taught, she was a woman who spent time studying the Word of God. And so, and just the way she presented herself and the way she went about everyday things, you knew, and she showed that. And so she was one that I definitely watched when I got married and moved here. And now that I'm pastor's wife, and new season of life for me, and trying to, figure out what I'm doing. And, you look at different ones that are in this role and say, okay, I've never been here before. I need help navigating what I'm going through right here.
Right.
And so, you just call and get information from those that are in that same role.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So, in thinking about this, of course, we all talked about our parents. I know, especially my mom, when it comes to what a faithful servant looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I really think about even when she was starting out in this walk and the time that she came into the church. I mean, we had always gone to church, but it was around the time that I was about 9 that we came to Apostolic Church. And, just the struggle that was going on just within our home and things like that. And she continued to be faithful, and no matter what situation came her way. And I remember her telling me, just watching her life and watching how faithful she was. But then I remember her telling me, like, I know too much. I have learned too much to walk away from him. And so that has always stuck with me. Just the fact that, when like once you have seen or once you have learned something, you're responsible for it. And so she absolutely showed that to me. My dad, just being steady and the fact that, he taught us so much about just like you were talking about practical things, life things. And even just talking to him about faith now as an adult. And I'm like, okay, like, he knows a few things, when you're young and you're looking at your parents and you're like, man, what do they know? What do they know about my life?
Yeah.
But then, you get to the parenting role, or you get to be an adult and you really understand, you come to understand what it is that they're trying to show you and teach you. So I definitely watch them. If I start naming names of people over the years, just within the church that showed me things and taught me things, and that I watched, I might forget a few people, but
I know there is here. I'm thinking about all these different ones now that, oh man, I should have mentioned them too. Because, you go through different seasons and the different places that I moved around and traveled. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There was that one at this point in my life. You're always going to be watching somebody. You're always
going to be watching somebody. And so it's really, so as I was listening to each of you talk about who you observed, that is the key. There is always observation before we decide, I need to know more about that. Or, if you're watching somebody's life and say, okay, I need to figure out what it is that they're doing. So that's the C1 part. That's like, if you look at the disciples and, they watched Jesus pray, but then came the question, teach us to pray. And so, but they would not have asked that unless they had observed some things. And it's very similar when we look at Paul and Timothy and 2 Timothy 3:10. He said, but thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith. So you often learn by proximity. And so you're watching somebody's life. Timothy's watching Paul's life. And that's a lot of what discipling is, and that's how it happens. Sometimes before you hear someone's words, you're watching their life. Before we go and teach, they're watching our lives.
They are.
And so,
absolutely.
So in thinking about this whole concept of, see one, do one, teach one, what does that look like spiritually or practically in your own life? Sister Brenda, you have just talked about, in this season of becoming a pastor's wife. And so I know that there's probably some things that you can maybe share with us about how you're living that out now.
Oh, sometimes we get thrown into things. Sometimes as we're learning, we have a path that we think our life is going to go in, and sometimes we're thrown a curve. Sometimes it may stay exactly as we planned, but it just reminds me that we're ever learning, we're ever doing and teaching, whether it's practical or spiritual, either one. It's constant. So when we're young, we always, as you said, we always pattern ourselves after those that we admire. And then as we grow, we start putting those things into practice. And then we get older. I'm in that season now. In my mind, I'm still young, but I know I'm in the older season.
You are still young.
You are young. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I know I'm in the older season of life. And so I know that now this is my time to teach. I have got several that are younger than me, not just physically, but also spiritually younger than me, that need teaching, that need training. Yes. And so God has given me all of these years of learning that now I'm putting into practice. So I looked up some scriptures before coming in to record. And so this one we had talked about before in the Balance podcast that we had recorded too, in Deuteronomy 6:6-9. It said, "And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk at them when thou sittest in thine house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and by thy gates." So it's within the house itself. You're teaching your children, you're teaching those coming up behind you, and you want it to be a constant reminder for them. So it said, and when it says down here, and this just hit me right now, it said, "You'll write them upon the post of our house and upon thy gates." So when your children leave and they're no longer at your house, they're going to see those things.
That's good.
As they're leaving. As you send them out the door, and you want them to know, hey, don't forget the things that you've learned here at the house. So it's very important that we do that. And then Psalm 78 verses 5-6, and said, "For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, and even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children." So he's not talking about just right now. You've got to teach so that it continues on and on and on and on.
It's legacy. Absolutely.
It is legacy. Yeah. So we have to, we have to teach. We have to pass it on. I have my mom's oldest sister, my Aunt Carolyn, she now has Alzheimer's, and she can't remember. She doesn't recognize people. So even her own children, she doesn't remember. But she told me several years ago, she said, "I have to teach people the things I know, because in what I'm teaching them, the things that they remember, that's how I live on." And so we extend our life even after we're gone, because we have taught and we keep passing those things down. Yeah. So it's very, very important that we do that.
Oh yeah. Well, this is more, not so much spiritual, but Sister Penny, she was a teacher, Sunday school teacher for many, many years. I don't even know the number, but for a very long time.
She doesn't remember either. I think that's the thing. We don't remember when we started.
It came out of a need, and you just jump in and you don't, Yeah. But here recently, she has been teaching my girls how to crochet. And she has a daughter, and she's got daughters-in-law now, that she's trying to, impart different things to her, wisdom and knowledge to them. But she's teaching my girls how to crochet. And one of the things that she told me was that she, when she was a young girl, a lady took the time to teach her how to do this. And so she wants to give back in the same way, and she wants to, give this gift of just a peaceful, mindless thing to do, a craft, something to do with their hands. She wants to pass that on to them, and I think it's beautiful. She's already given this ability to Beth, showed her how to do all those things. I think she does, great work, and she is eager to pass this off. And so,
but that same concept. So the woman who taught her lives on through Sister Penny.
Yeah.
and now lives on in your girls.
And
because
in her
she's
own
constantly
girls too.
teaching.
Yeah, she's just wanting to give away this knowledge, and so I appreciate not just the people who are teaching me, but I appreciate the people who are teaching my kids and showing my kids things. Sister April, when you think about this, how does this apply to you, either spiritually or practically in your life?
I was thinking back, and I know nobody wants to go back this far, but I was thinking about COVID.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because
we can go further. That's more recent.
Right.
Okay.
But I've ever since my kids were little, my oldest daughter, Savannah, she was 5 years old when I started teaching. So ever since they've been in school, I've been teaching high school, and then at some point I started teaching Sunday school, so I've always taught other people's kids. And I started thinking back to COVID when we were not allowed to come into the church building. Mm-hmm. And on Sunday mornings, my youngest daughter, Sierra, she was probably about 13 or 14 years old. And on Sunday mornings, before we would listen to the recorded message, we would sit down with our Sunday school books, and we would go through, what we were supposed to be learning for that week. Mm-hmm. And just thinking about, I didn't realize at the time how much that was pouring into her, mm-hmm. but now I can see it.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. And
sorry,
you can't.
That's emotional.
No, it's okay. No, it's good.
And it's not something that you can see, but it's also something that others see.
Yeah.
I had Sierra, we went to a conference, and the discipline that kid has, even on vacation,
right,
to get in her word and to study and do
have
all the things
time
that she needs to do mm-hmm. Before she gets her day started. So it's not something that, that you're just observing, but
others are doing
right. Too. Yeah.
And now she is upstairs with me, helping me teach Sunday school, and mm-hmm. she did P7 before she graduated from high school, and she's thinking about, some of the things that maybe she can do in the future.
Yes.
And so it's a blessing to see that your children walk in truth.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
That is the most important thing, outside of what we do here at the church. And I know you guys talked about this in a previous podcast as well. But to see your children grow up and want to serve the Lord and have that discipline for themselves, mm-hmm. because they still do have to choose.
Yes,
they have to choose it for themselves. Mm-hmm. You can teach them and pray for them and do everything that you think is right. And then one day when they grow up, they have to make that decision to serve the Lord for themselves.
Yes.
And like you said, hopefully one day, she'll have kids and she'll be able to pass on those things that she's learned.
Yes.
That
mm-hmm.
she's learned from the people here, and that she's, figured out for herself.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not just hear about me, just mm-hmm. admire me, but actually learn from me. Jesus said, learn of me.
Right.
So the see one, do one, teach one becomes observing godly examples. Then you have to personally walk that out. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you're helping someone else grow too. So it walks it all the way out. So it's a very beautiful process, I think.
And I think we're doing that in every phase of life, because even with Sierra now, she's 19 and she is still young, but she's already teaching the younger girls behind her. They already look up to her.
My two do.
Yeah.
For 100%.
So, it's already that process for her, but she is still in the season of life where she's still observing.
Yeah.
And then she's going to get that hands-on. So I think we all do that in every phase. We just don't realize to the extent, but there's always somebody watching and observing.
Yeah. I can't remember what sport or what athlete said that, but I think they were talking about how they're not a role model. And it's like,
Yes,
But
you are
you
by
are.
default.
100%.
Yeah.
If you are,
Whether good or bad, you are some kind of a role
you are
model.
a role model. You are in people's view. They see you.
Very
If you,
much
I mean, so you have to watch what you do. You have to watch how you live. And so, it's a very interesting thing because you don't have to be old
Right.
to be able to teach.
Right.
There are probably there are some people who spiritually are old, but in their actual years, like
Not
Sister
very.
Sierra, she's 19, and so this is the life the only life
All
she's
she's
known,
known.
and so to be able to have young kids to look at her life and see what she has done and they're learning of her. I mean, by the time she gets to where we are, I mean,
She's going to be so much further ahead of us.
she's going to know some
be.
stuff, and she's going to be able to teach some things too,
Yes.
continue to teach some things. So that it's very interesting. We can kind of flow into this now, but when we go from then watching to actually walking it out. Sister April, was there a moment, and you touched on this a little bit, where it shifted from you to not just watch others, but then realizing, okay, now I've got to live this for myself, or now I've got to actually walk this out? Is there a moment in your mind that you can go back to?
I think it was probably several different moments put together where, for a while, I would say even for a good 10 years, and that's shameful for me to even say, but for the first probably 10 years that I went to the church, I tended to stay more in the background and just let everybody else do other things. And it's not that I wouldn't have, it's just that I guess I have always been the kind of person that's like, if you would ask me to do it, then I would. But if you don't ask me, then I'm just going to kind of stay back.
You're not going to volunteer.
Right. I'm not going to volunteer. And then I think when Savannah was like a teen or a preteen, I went to youth conference for the first time with you all. And that's when I really started to think about, I need to do my part. It's not up to all the people that are here in the church to teach my children, to watch over my children, to do things for my family. It's up to me.
Yeah.
And then, several different things happened in my life. My dad passed away with cancer, and I watched him go through that for a few years. And honestly, my marriage wasn't in a good place at that time. And all of those things put together just made me realize that I needed to step up and actually do my part in the church. And I didn't have to wait on somebody to ask me to do certain things. Like, I'm not going to get up on the platform and just start singing with somebody, unless somebody would ask me to do that, or even teach Sunday school or anything like that. But there are little things.
But you made yourself available.
Yeah.
So whatever
Right.
you needed to do.
Yeah. There are little things that you can do to be a servant without having to be in the spotlight. And I think too many times people want to be in the spotlight first without going through that period of servitude. So
that's very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, so I was just thinking about this scripture, 1 Timothy 4:16, and basically the cliff notes of this scripture just talks about paying close attention to yourself. Concentrate on your personal development and your teaching. And you're to preserve in these things. For as you do this, you will ensure salvation both for yourself and for those that hear you. So you are looking at your life and saying, okay, I'm going to have to do something different than what I was doing. I'm going to have to actually put this into motion. I'm going to actually do something.
Right. But
Even
I'm going to
outside
give
for
you
comfort zone.
some grace there. You talked about the first 10 years, you didn't do a whole lot. You were new. You were still young. You're learning.
Yes.
You were
I
in
was
that
a baby.
season. You were in that season of observation. So it was okay at that point. But when that that realization came, hey, now it's time for me to step up.
Yeah.
You did.
I just wish it wouldn't have taken me so long, but
that's all of us. I think, there's lessons that we sometimes are learning. And I mean, I don't like to think about this, but the way that God has to get my attention sometimes, sometimes it takes a while, and it makes me so uncomfortable that I'm like, okay, Lord, I have to I need to hurry up and learn this lesson, or he's going to really put it to me. Yeah. But we all are like that. We all find ourselves in situations where God is calling us to come up,
something greater,
and to do something greater. And it's uncomfortable. And sometimes we just gotta
sometimes
push on.
He has to do drastic things to get our attention. But then I think other times too, He is gently leading us into where He wants us to go. So I would rather Him do it gently.
Yeah. And sometimes we learn that from others. Sometimes we can observe other people's lives and some of the things that they find themselves in. Yeah. And I'm sure somebody is watching my life and be like, okay, I'm not going to do what she did. But we learn from others, but then we still have this responsibility that we have to do some things on our own. And so, again, it's an interesting thing, because when we find ourselves at the point where we actually have to do what it is that we've learned and put it into practice, that can sometimes be a challenge. But Sister Brenda, is there anything, any thoughts that you have about kind of how we're supposed to put action in and grow from just observing to doing?
Just one thought there. We as children, we kind of hang on to our parents' coattails, and we follow them along. And I can remember growing up in church, and people would ask about why I did certain things. And I said, well, because that's what the church teaches, or that's what my parents tell me to do. So at that point, yes, I was being told what to do, and it wasn't something personal for me. Yes. But there comes a point where you can't hang on to parents' coattails anymore. Right. You've got to know it and do it for yourself. So you have to eventually learn to walk on your own, and that's physically and spiritually. So Jesus is wanting that personal relationship with each and every one of us. So we can only hang on to somebody else for so long, and then we either fall away, or we get it and we hold on to it for ourselves. And it becomes heartfelt, and it's something that we desire. And Jesus desires that too. He wants that relationship with us. And so it's up to us to build that relationship.
Yes. I mean, even just talking about, not hanging on to the coattails of others, you have to make the decision in your heart and your mind that you're going to do things. And so sometimes it looks like, just even when your prayer time, it's like, okay, God, teach me to do your will.
Right.
Teach me these things. I mean, David said that multiple times.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, eventually I got to pray on my own. I've got to seek God myself. I've got to build this relationship with Him on my own. I've learned from other people, and now I need to step into actually doing and putting some action behind it. So, Sister Brenda, in while you are still, learning from others, because we're ever learning, and then making sure that our relationship with God is our own, how do we balance that? Because I think a lot of times we think that we have to have it all together before we actually go out and do. And so how does that look like for you, and balancing still learning and then actually taking action and doing at the same time?
So, oh goodness. So in every phase or every season of your life, you're always learning. Okay. So we've already said that before. We're never too old to learn. So I'm constantly learning. The different phases of life that I'm going through, I've never been here before.
Yeah.
So I've got to learn from somebody else. But what I do know, I can pass on and teach somebody else, and I can give that knowledge to somebody else. So it's up to me to learn, because we can teach, but until we take those lessons and apply them, it's just useless knowledge.
Right.
So we have to take that knowledge and apply it to our lives, and then it becomes that lasting effect in us that we're actually putting that into action.
Yeah.
You know, we're applying, and so it's building, and we're making something.
Yeah. I mean, even just as we are continuing to, you know, because there's things that I'm learning still in so many different areas of my life. But then also I'm in this position where I'm teaching my kids. I'm making sure that it's been a little bit since I've taught Sunday school, but just because we've had just different shifts and changes and different needs. And so, and then having people to have the opportunity to be able to learn and take on that responsibility as well. We've seen that transition. Sister April was talking about how Sierra's in Sunday school with her teaching, and there was a period of time where they shadowed, and she, she was watching you and how you, navigated the class, and then she got an opportunity to be able to teach, and now she's on her own, and she's doing great things. Right. Same thing with Brother Nick. He, I had Joel, and it was a really great time to be able to transition and to say, okay, maybe somebody else needs to step in and do. And Brother Nick observed Sister Kim up there, and then he's teaching on his own. And so I think in this whole process, it's like Paul said, be ye followers of me as I am of Christ. So Paul, he's not just saying, I've got it all together, you follow me. Follow me as I'm following Christ. Right.
Make sure whoever you're following is going in the right direction.
Correct. Yeah. Because some examples are good and some examples are not. Right. And so you want to make sure that you have, you're following good examples and you're getting good wisdom. And he didn't, Paul is not pointing to himself for the foundation of whatever it is he was teaching.
As I follow Christ.
As I follow Christ. Yes. He pointed them straight there. Yep. And so I think sometimes we can stay in the C1 stage too long.
Yeah.
We got, talking about coattails and hanging on to those, somebody else's conviction, somebody else's prayer life, somebody else's relationship with God. And
we have to make it personal.
We have to. And so now that we've talked about seeing things and doing things, now transitioning into teaching. And Sister April, I'm going to kind of go to you a little bit, because you not just teach in the church, but you are a teacher as part of your career. And so what does teaching others look like in real life? Not just like formally, but just in everyday moments.
I did write a couple of things down about this. I was just thinking about, okay, when I walk into my classroom, what is the process from start to finish of teaching like a new lesson, something that my students have never heard before? And obviously it starts with me, because I'm the one that already knows what to do. You have the
knowledge. Yes.
I've got the knowledge. And so, it usually starts with lecturing and modeling. And that's a time where the kids have to use all of their senses. They have to hear, they have to see, they have to write, and then they have to take that and put it into practice. So once I teach them how to do something, they're never going to know if they can do it for themselves unless they start to practice. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to give them an assessment and be like, okay, we're learning this concept today. Tomorrow you're going to have a test on it.
Yeah.
No.
That'd be wild.
You have to give them time. Give them time to learn.
And you need to practice and say, here is what I can do on my own. And then what do I still need help with? And then it kind of goes back to instruction from there for a little bit. But eventually there does come an assessment. And that is the most real life thing I can say, is that it doesn't matter whether you're talking about out in the world or whether you're talking about spiritually, there is going to be an assessment one day.
There is.
That's true.
If you haven't been through an assessment yet, you're going to get one.
That's right. That's some good stuff
Come
right there.
There it is.
Because the Lord, spiritually, the Lord needs to know, and this was a great message that I heard here, can he trust you with trouble? Do y'all remember that
yes,
one?
I do.
And
yes,
so
I do.
if you never go through an assessment, so to speak, in life, you're never going to know if the Lord can trust you and if you can trust the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're going to go through a test or a trial, and that's where your faith develops.
Yes.
Correct.
And then, of course, after that first assessment is over, sometimes that requires reteaching. We don't learn all of our lessons the first time around.
Sometimes it takes
If you
repeated
didn't know.
assessments.
You don't.
And lastly, I would say that I have to be a good student. I still have to go through professional development.
Yes.
Every so many years, I have to renew my license. And it's the same spiritually, just like we've been saying. We're always learning. We shouldn't stop learning.
Right.
I think the Lord can show us new things if we're willing. So we have to have a willing heart. We have to have a heart that says, okay, I'm a teacher, but I still have to be a student as well.
You have to be teachable.
Yes.
Right.
I think sometimes and again, I've not always been a good student when it comes to the things that the Lord is maybe trying to teach me. And when that assessment comes up, I might not do so great. I might fail. But I have to be in a position where I am open and I'm willing to learn what is necessary to be able to get through whatever it is that I'm facing. Because if I'm not teachable, I don't think the Lord
no
can't do
future.
nothing with me.
Right.
He can't.
I mean, you can look in the Bible and see the examples of those that had to be corrected.
Yes.
And that's the time of assessment. So at the time of assessment, and God had to come to them, those that had a teachable spirit and those that didn't. And the ones that did not have the teachable spirit, they were kicked out.
Yeah.
And they didn't go any further. But those that had that teachable spirit and could be corrected in the right way and taught in the right way, and were willing to learn whatever God was trying to teach them, they went further.
Yes.
And there has been times that I've had those times of assessments, and I have messed up, and I have prayed and cried. And it's like, God, how many times? And you go through it multiple times. God, how many times do you have to make me go through this before I learn the lesson? I'm tired of going through this over and over again. Help me to learn so that I can get past this and I don't have to be tested on this one again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. Because I think, when, as Pastor Clark would say, it's better to learn. He said it was better to learn by example
rather than experience.
When it hurt less. But I think there's some lessons, there's some things that you just will not learn, that you will not get in you unless you go through it yourself. And it's really important when you're in a test and you're in a learning period that you are aware.
Yes.
You are aware of the season that you're in.
Yes.
Yes, I need to learn. Yes, I'm being taught something. And to grab the nuggets of knowledge and understanding that are going to be coming your way so that you can impart it. And so this kind of segues into this other thought too, when the scripture talks about how the older are to teach the younger. And it's more than just the discipleship. It's the spiritual discipleship, but it's also in just the ordinary. I mean, I can't tell you how many times. Actually, there's one thing that you taught me, Sister Brenda, that sticks with me, and I'm still having to use it because I've got a baby now. But just the knowledge of when I go to the grocery store and I've got the kids with me. You told me that I just need to find a parking spot as close to the
buggy
corral. Not just for the ease of, making sure that I was nearby so I can get all my stuff in, but I can be near the baby and just, kids and all that stuff. Those are things, again, I was taught, little nuggets in ordinary moments. So you don't know the things that you are teaching in just ordinary conversations, sitting at tables like this, car rides, serving together with people, watching how someone responds under pressure, seeing consistency like over and over. That's not formal teaching. Okay. Yes, there are times that, you sit down in instruction. We're in a Bible study and, you got Pastor or Sister Brenda at Ladies Service and you're teaching, some biblical concept and we're taking it all in. But sometimes it's just
practical knowledge.
Just knowledge. Just
the everyday walk.
Everyday
walk.
Yeah. And those things are important too, because we have to teach each other.
Yeah.
And there are things that I learned from you all as well. Even though I'm older, I still learn from you all. And I appreciate those things that you teach me. And then we put those into practical use too.
Yes.
And we're able to pass them on to others. So, and that's the beauty of friendship.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. You have to, and that's also humbling yourself also to allow people into your world to be able to speak into your life, to teach you some things. Because being a student it can be a humbling experience. You're like, I don't want anybody to show me what, I'm going to do it my way. But sometimes you have to humble yourself to be able to say, there might be a better way to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So you have to let someone close enough to be able to learn some things. And so why do you think that people may back away from being a teacher or sharing what it is that they, may have gone through or whatever and teaching someone else?
The biggest thing I can think of, and this came to me as soon as I read this question, is fear. Fear is that great barrier. We fear the unknown. We fear making a mistake. We fear what others are going to think of us. But we have to learn to put that fear down and not... We have to realize that it's just a tool of the enemy, because the scripture says God has not given us the spirit of fear,
right,
but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I actually had to use that. I had an experience happen to me when I was 18, and I had a huge spirit of fear that came upon me for such a long period of time. And then at different points in my life, it would come back to me, and I would have to fight down that spirit of fear, and I would have to suppress it again and take it and give it to the Lord. And I said, God, I know this is not from you. But that fear also keeps us from moving forward into what God has for us to do. Yes. When we became, my husband became pastor of the church, and I had to step up into that role as well. Again, that spirit of fear. And it was the fear of the unknown, because I'm like, God, I'm here. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what my role is. Yeah. And so it took me almost 2 years to really come to terms with my new role. And I struggled so hard mentally just stepping into that role because of fear. And it was just because I felt like, but I had to stop and think, God had put me in, Brother Dwayne was the assistant pastor to Brother Clark, and we worked and did so much for 30 years. 30 years. You think, okay, that's plenty of training. But when you step up into the new role, until you've been there, right, it's a different world. Right. And so it's like, even though I've, been training for 30 years, what am I doing here? Right. But I had to. And Sister April, you came to me and you told me this. And thank God for my friends, because they speak into your life when you really need them. Yes. So I thank you. But you told me, you said, God has trained you for this. Yeah. And he put you here for such a time. Yeah. So sometimes we need our friends that know us real well to speak back into our lives and say, listen, God has already put you here. He's already trained you for this position. Step into the role that he's put you in and go forward. Yes. But the biggest barrier is fear. Yeah. And you know what? We can make mistakes and you can correct most of them. We can learn from all of them.
Correct. Right.
All of them. And sometimes we just have to push on and not worry about others think. If we know what we're doing, what God, that what we're doing is what God is asking of us, then we know He's going to bless our path,
Right.
and He's going to bless what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you have to step beyond that fear.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but step beyond the fear and just step out into what God is asking you to do.
When one of the things that when you mentioned fear and just talking about, stepping into this new role that was new, what I heard was that you felt unqualified. And I think a lot of people, when they have an opportunity to teach or to share something with someone or multiple people, that they feel unqualified. They may not feel like they know enough, that they're still growing themselves. And I think that what you will hear over this conversation is that we don't have it all together, and that we're always learning something new. We're always learning. We're always in a different season, in a different situation, that we are going to have to learn something new. And so even sometimes feeling unqualified might stop people from teaching and bringing someone else along to say, hey, follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
Follow me as I,
And we know, we can look in the scripture. We know Paul didn't have it all together all the time. Okay. He made mistakes too.
Sure.
And we are going to make mistakes.
Sure.
But we can't let that stop us.
Yeah.
And again, learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Sister Jody actually taught me that. I was under her when I worked in the kitchen at the school. She was my boss. And she's like, this is what we want you to do. You figure out how to do it that works best for you. As long as you get to this end result, that's what we want. So then now in the position that I am in my new job, my income, my physically paying job. I don't know whatever that proper word is, but I can, when I'm training other people to do my position, I said, this is what we need to get to, and this is the way I do it. But however it works best for you, you don't have to do it exactly like I do, but however that works for you, as long as you come to this outcome, that's good. And I can do the same thing when I'm teaching people, training people as teachers in the Sunday school department here, or when I want them to do something else, helping out with teaching the kids how to sing, teaching them new songs, or if we're working in the ladies department, it's okay, this is what I want. However you get there, it may not be exactly like I would do it, but however you get there, just make sure we get there.
Yes.
So we can teach in that way too. So there's going to be mistakes made. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's the fear. If we stop doing anything because we're afraid we're not going to get it right, we're letting the fear control us.
Yeah. Well, and when you're talking about, how you're teaching others, and we might not know everything, but in the scripture, many of the people that asked God to teach them something, they were seasoned. Right. I mean, if you think about David, and he made mistakes, but he always teach me. I mean, there's so many instances of that phrase, teach me. Moses prayed, teach us to number our days. Disciples, teach us to pray. I mean, healthy people continue to learn. They don't ever stop. And so I think that the best people to help others are not people who have mastered everything, but they're people who are humbled enough to say, here's what God has taught me so far. Right. Here's what that I've learned along the way. So wrapping this conversation up, Sister April, if there is one thing that you could say to someone who needs guidance, or one thing that you want to say to someone who should be guiding others, what would that be?
I think I would say to always have a servant's heart. No matter how high up in anything you get, whether it's, at work or at school, at home, at church, wherever it is, whatever position you have, don't forget that you're a servant first. In Sunday school this morning, we were just talking about everything that was leading up to Jesus's death, and the last meal that he had with his disciples, he was showing them how to have a servant's heart. He was washing their feet. And so even though he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He sits on the throne. He didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
He could have been sitting up in the finest chair they had, you know, sitting at the head of the table and say,
Being
you do
lordly.
this. Yeah, you do that. But no, he got down in the servant's position and washed all of his disciples' feet. And he told Peter that, he said, Peter, if you don't let me wash your feet,
You have no place.
right,
No
you're
part
not
in this.
mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing that I would say is, and I love this about our pastor. You can find him, he said he would clean toilets if he has to.
Yeah.
You can find him cleaning up. He has a hard time just sitting still and letting other people do the work because
does.
he has the heart of a servant first
Yes.
and foremost.
Yes. I love that. Sister Brenda, is there anything that you would say to someone that needs guidance, or, you know, someone who should be guiding others? What would you say to them?
We always lead by example. There is a quote that I have shared many times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you show people that you care, and they're going to be so much more willing to hear what you know. So lead with love, have that servant's heart, and then share the knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
Make it, especially if you're in your walk with the Lord, make sure that you're going in the right direction. Make sure that you're digging in and finding those nuggets. Take that time every day to spend time with the Lord, and He will teach you what you need to know.
Yes.
He's not going to give you all the knowledge all at one time, because we couldn't contain it. We couldn't handle it. So He gives it to us little by little as we need it. And as we get it, then pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah. That's so good. When I pray with the kids in the morning on the way to school, I'm always, trying to help them to understand that I want them to learn and I want them to grow in the way that God would have them to. And also, as they are learning and as they're growing, that they'll keep the knowledge, they'll keep the understanding.
Right.
And so I think that when we are teaching and we are bringing people along, we have to make sure that we understand that what God pours into us is not supposed to stay with us, because we're literally still seeing, we're still doing, we're still teaching at different stages in our life, and all the walk that is before us. And so the goal is not perfection, and it's not, getting it right 100% of the time, but it's remaining teachable enough to keep growing and to be faithful enough to help someone else along the way. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
Ladies Takeover is not too bad.
It's not too bad.
Not too
They might
shabby.
let us do it another time.
Yeah, we may not have had as much sound effects and silliness, but I think that this
Good
is
nuggets.
This has been really, really good. So I appreciate you all being here and having this chat. And I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful that I get to serve the Lord alongside you guys. You guys are
I
great
could
for
not
me.
do it without you all. Seriously. God puts good people to help us along the way. And I've got some gems. I'm very thankful for you all.
Yes. All right. Well, is there anything else that anybody wants to say? Anything you want to leave the listeners with? No? We got it all out.
I
We're
think
all
we got
good.
it all out on this one.
Well, I think we are good to go, but we thank you all for listening. We appreciate all of the listeners, and make sure that you like and subscribe and share this episode with someone that is in the process of learning,
Yes.
or needs to be stepping into some teaching.
Right. So until next time, let's remember what God has done, and we're going to keep a seat open for you at this table. And if you want to leave us a review, please do so. If you want to email us, the email address is atableinthewildernesspodcast@gmail.com.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
God bless.
That's a wrap.
God bless you. Woo!